It was a routine taxi pickup in Istanbul for a driver. He'd collected a fare from the city's airport. Everything seemed normal. In the back seat sat his passenger, British boxer Ross Kitchen. What should have been a simple taxi ride turned deadly. The passenger, Ross Kitchen, became increasingly agitated. Surveillance of the journey via dashcam captured something chilling: the shift to a full-on attack. The footage shows Ross leaning forward from the back seat. He wraps an arm around the driver's throat, twists his face, and then attempts to bite his nose. At the same time, the driver fights to keep control of the vehicle. It's an unexpected moment. Ross's transformation from passenger to predator catches the taxi driver so off guard. Once Ross launched his attack, things escalate quickly. The dashcam shows him clawing at the driver's face, plunging fingers into his eyes in an attempt to blind him, and trying to bite at his nose. Meanwhile, the taxi driver is trying to maneuver the taxi to safety, but the assault continues. Cars rush by, traffic barrels past, and in the midst of it all, the driver's focus toggles between defending himself and staying on the road. Eventually, they come to a stop, but the violence doesn't end there. The fight continues outside the taxi. Ross pulls the driver into the open, launches further attacks, and leaves him unconscious by the roadside. In court, the taxi driver described the aftermath of the assault as life-altering. He allegedly spent time in a coma after the attack. He says he now suffers from permanent damage, one eye impaired, parts of his face still numb, and the trauma has left deep psychological scars. Ross Kitchen is accused of not only physically assaulting him, but also of stealing money, 60,000 Turkish lira, and 45 euros during the assault, according to the taxi driver. Ross Kitchen, the boxer, is now facing very serious charges. Prosecutors in Turkey have charged him with aggravated intentional injury causing bone fractures with monstrous sentiment, and aggravated robbery. He has claimed in court that he was suffering panic attacks and thought he was being kidnapped, so he said he acted in self-defense. Nonetheless, the evidence captured on the dashcam is not in his favour. Authorities in Istanbul's courthouse are seeking a prison sentence of up to 33 years. It started like any other Southern California morning, bright skies and lots of freeway traffic. But what one dashcam recorded that day would soon ignite headlines across the nation. On the crowded freeway near Glendale, a black Tesla weaves between cars, its driver visibly angry. The footage feels ordinary at first, until everything changes.
Juice cleanses. You can make them spicy or regular. Plus, if you order right now before 1 p.m., you get delivered by 8 p.m.
Without warning, the Tesla jerks towards a white pickup truck, scraping its front bumper. Both vehicles slow, the kind of moment where most people just exchange looks, maybe a few mean words. But this time, it doesn't end there. The Tesla abruptly stops in the middle of live traffic. The driver steps out, calm at first, then raises a metal bat. The dashcam captures every second, the man storming towards the truck, slamming the weapon into the door again and again. Other drivers stare and some grab their phones, filming in disbelief.
That's 800-485-1049.
Then, just as suddenly, the attacker returns to his car, drives off and disappears into the morning traffic. Within hours of the attack, the dashcam footage started circulating online, first on Reddit and TikTok, then across every major news outlet in Southern California. Comments flooded in. Some viewers thought that it had to be a stunt or some kind of staged road rage skit. Others recognized the freeway instantly and realized this was no performance. The internet quickly gave the man a nickname, the Tesla Attacker, his face clearly visible in multiple angles from dashcams and phones. And this became the centerpiece of a statewide manhunt, conducted not just by police, but by many online Reddit detectives. Local stations like Fox 11 replayed the footage on loop. Reporters broke down every frame: the Tesla's license plate, the driver's movements, the moment he swung the metal bat. And soon the pattern began to emerge. Other drivers started coming forward. They claimed they'd seen that same Tesla before. Same model, same driver in other terrifying road rage incidents across Southern California. What started as one shocking video was quickly becoming something much bigger, a pattern of violence, led by one man whose anger kept spilling out onto the road. As investigators dug deeper, with help from the dashcam timestamps, license plate details, and a flood of eyewitness reports, authorities finally identified the suspect, Nathaniel Walter Radimick, a 36-year-old man from LA. He wasn't just a random angry driver, he was already known to law enforcement. According to police records, he had a long history of violent road rage encounters dating back years. Witnesses from across Southern California began contacting news stations, claiming they too had been targeted by a man driving a black Tesla who would jump out with a weapon even after the smallest dispute on the road. Some said that he chased them through intersections, others said that he smashed their windows while they sat trapped in traffic, many of the victims being women or the elderly. Each story echoed the same terrifying behaviour captured on camera that day on the freeway. So the hunt was on, and when officers finally tracked him down in late January, he was arrested in connection with multiple assaults, vandalism, and criminal threats. During his arrest, police recovered several items, including what appeared to be the metal bat seen in the dashcam footage. When police finally closed in on him, it wasn't some dramatic high-speed chase. It was a quiet arrest after weeks of digital detective work and eyewitness tips. But for drivers across Southern California, the news felt like a collective sigh of relief. The man who had terrorized freeways with a metal bat was finally in custody. Detectives say Nathaniel was linked to at least 10 separate road rage incidents, many of them caught on camera, and nearly all of the victims were women, including many elderly victims. Each clip showed the same routine: the black Tesla, the sudden stop, and the driver storming out with a weapon. Prosecutors wasted no time. He was charged with assault with a deadly weapon, vandalism, and criminal threats, all enhanced by allegations of repeat violent behaviour. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Okay, wow, so I just found an insane update while editing this video. Nathaniel didn't serve the 5 years. He got away on parole. And guess what? He caused yet another dangerous road rage incident this year. This time in Hawaii, he terrorized an 18-year-old girl, her mother, and a literal child. After another traffic incident, he grabbed some sort of weapon, looks to me like the same one in the previous video, but I can't say for sure. He hit their car multiple times and sped off. Once again, he is arrested and in prison, where he recently got assaulted by other inmates who broke his nose. At least some justice is being served. But wow, the history of this guy is unbelievable. It is endless the amount of crimes he's committed. It was supposed to be a normal afternoon at Louisville International Airport. Planes were taking off, trucks were loading up, and another UPS cargo flight was preparing for its usual run. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, but what happened next would cause the death of 12 people, captured on a driver's dashcam just outside the airport. At 5:13 p.m, the UPS plane began its takeoff down the runway. Everything looked routine, the engines roaring, the wheels lifting off the ground, until something went horribly wrong. Just seconds after takeoff, witnesses saw the left wing burst into flames. The plane tilted sharply, its nose dipping, smoke trailing behind it. The dashcam footage is haunting. You can hear the hum of traffic, and then a flash of orange fills the sky. The aircraft barely clears the runway before rolling sideways, losing altitude fast. For a few moments it looks like it might recover, then it drops out of view. The plane banks left almost sideways and slams into the ground just beyond the airport. A massive fireball erupts, lighting up the sky. The sound is deafening, a low, heavy thud, followed by the crackle of burning fuel. The driver recording the footage can be heard gasping, the camera shaking as the shockwave hits. Within seconds, a dark column of smoke towers over the highway, thick and rising fast. Emergency sirens start wailing almost immediately, rushing towards the fire from nearby service roads, unsure of what they'll find. When first responders arrived at the crash site, the scene was almost unrecognizable. Flames towered nearly 50 feet high, the wreckage, twisted metal, scorched debris, and the shattered remains of the UPS plane, all scattered across an open field just beyond the airport. Witnesses later said the heat could be felt from hundreds of feet away. Traffic on nearby roads came to a complete stop as people stood in silence, watching helplessly. Despite the rescue team's speed, it was clear there would be no survivors. Investigators quickly secured the area and searched for the aircraft's black boxes, the only clues that could explain what went so catastrophically wrong. For many of the first responders, it wasn't just another call. They knew the faces of the people who worked these flights. This was their city, their community. And in the days following the crash, investigators from the NTSB and FAA descended on Louisville. Their mission was clear: to find out why a fully operational UPS cargo plane fell from the sky just seconds after takeoff. They recovered the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, both burned but intact enough to pull critical data. Analysis showed something alarming. The fire hadn't started on impact, it started mid-air, moments after the wheels left the runway. Investigators believed a mechanical failure or engine fire could have caused one side of the aircraft to lose lift, forcing the pilots into an impossible situation. Experts replayed the footage frame by frame, syncing it with air traffic control recordings. In those final transmissions, you can hear the tension in the pilots' voices, the struggle to keep the aircraft level, to gain altitude, the fight for control. But at such a low height, there was simply no room to recover. What happened on the runway wasn't pilot error, nor bad weather. It was the chain of mechanical and technical failures that combined in the worst possible way. It begins on a typical day on a busy dual carriageway in suburban Atlanta. In the passenger seat of a truck sits a teenager, an 18-year-old who recorded his journey via Dashcam. Suddenly, what seemed like a minor fender bender changes everything. A second vehicle, driven by a man named Emmett Grubbs, veers in front of the truck, instigating a collision. What started as a routine drive morphs into a dangerous confrontation. Grubbs pulled off to the shoulder, exited his vehicle, and approached the teenager's truck, then punched him in the face and grabbed his keys. In a desperate bid to recover his keys, the teen picked up a baseball bat and pursued Grubbs, but the situation only intensified. What followed was intense. The teen was dragged at high speed, clinging on for dear life, his legs and torso swinging in traffic as it whizzed past at 40 miles per hour. The raw dashcam footage captures every moment when the young driver, an 18-year-old named Dalton, finds himself hurling down the dual carriageway in sheer terror. According to his own account, after the minor collision with the other driver, Emmett Grubbs punched him, snatched his keys, and proceeded with an act of vengeance. Dalton said, "When he started dragging me, I was holding onto the car because I knew as soon as I let go, I would just fall right off." The incident reportedly stretched for about 1.5 miles, with the teen describing it saying, "I'm probably going to die." Yet remarkably, he managed to survive the ordeal without life-threatening injuries. In the wake of the terrifying drag down on the highway, the wheels of justice began turning. The aggressor, Emmett Grubbs, was arrested on suspicion of robbery, aggravated assault, and aggressive driving. Unsurprisingly, he'd already had a prior battery conviction related to a previous road rage incident in 2016, and in 2006 a restraining order was placed against him by a woman, relating to a dangerous incident. Unfortunately, I couldn't locate what sentencing he got for this, but in previous years he's got off very, very lightly. So we can only hope that that isn't the case again. It was a seemingly ordinary afternoon in the Las Vegas Valley, vehicles moving along the dual carriageways like normal. Then, without warning, the winds picked up and traffic came to a stop. On a dashcam recording, one moment a driver is cruising along Jones Boulevard, then suddenly their life is at stake. A tall wooden power pole cracks, snaps and collapses, its weight hurling down towards the car. The impact is sudden and the driver is trapped inside the car. What was a quiet drive just moments before became a fight for survival. And this wasn't an isolated freak accident, it was the culmination of a ferocious dust storm that battered the valley, and over 50 power poles were damaged, many of them falling and snapping. The collapse left over 33,000 people without power. The dashcam clip only shows one car, but many other cars were trapped under fallen poles and drivers forced to wait for rescue. Amazingly, no one died, and there were no life-threatening injuries. This video starts just like the rest, an ordinary drive. What started as a simple lane pass quickly morphed into a full-blown confrontation. The dashcam captures a grey pickup overtaking a slow-moving vehicle on the highway, only for the slower car to react aggressively, cutting in front, slamming on its brakes, and forcing the pickup to retaliate or back off. The driver of the grey pickup, later identified as Sonny Bahari, describes the moment when he is pepper sprayed through his rear window by an unknown driver who climbed out of his vehicle, approached his truck, and sprayed a chemical irritant straight into his eyes and upper body. The driver then flees the scene, running a red light and almost causing a dangerous crash. Fellow drivers try to help. The passenger from a nearby car jumps out and pours water all over his burning face. A small act of human kindness in the midst of the chaos. Meanwhile, law enforcement steps in. Surrey Police Service confirmed they received a 3:15 PM call about a possible assault using bear or pepper spray. Officers described the incident as not just a one-on-one confrontation, but extremely dangerous. What began as a simple overtaking left one man traumatized, and a suspect still on the run. Unfortunately, they have not catched the suspect.